Hi everyone, it's Cindy A. Lewis here. Thank you for joining me on my channel for this stamping and embossing with Pigment Ink tutorial. Recently I showed this demo on my Tuesday morning haul, so you can go and see that if you like. But I'm using some ColorWorks Pigment Ink to emboss with because Pigment Ink is the best for that. This is the heat embossing tool that I use, and basically it heats the embossing powder and makes it raised with the pigment ink that rests on top of the paper. So here I'm using a clear stamp. The stamp will be put on this block and I will stamp the ink on first. So we use this neon pink ColorWorks from Tuesday morning. The pad is very thick. It has a lot of ink on it, and I bring my pad to the stamp and I make sure that the stamp is completely covered before stamping it onto the paper for this demo. So pigment ink stays wet longer, which is great for embossing, and embossing is really fun to put on cards and your scrapbook pages and all kinds of artwork. So here you can see that the neon pink is a really light stamp, and I'm going to use some iridescent embossing powder. So you cover the stamp ink of your image, and then of course you can save this powder and just put it back in the jar. So basically here I'm just covering the butterfly that I just stamped with the powder, and I'm going to save the rest by pouring it back in the jar. So this is really simple actually, and you just buy the color of embossing powder that you like, and I'm going to show you 3 different images that are embossed. So here, the heat tool, it can be really loud, and it is a little hotter than your actual blow dryer, so I wouldn't advise using a blow dryer. So you can see what it does is melt the powder to the image with the ink. Now the pink was very light without anything on it, but now you can see the butterfly very well with the embossing. It also raises the edge so that there is actual texture there. It turns out really beautifully. So next we're going to see the same image with black pigment ink and gold embossing powder. So again, I take my pad to the stamp and I stamp it onto the paper. And I'm just using scrap paper here. So you can see the image is beautiful, just like it is. But if we add some gold embossing powder to it, we're going to bring this heat tool and melt the gold embossing powder, and we'll see the butterfly transformed before your eyes into a beautiful gold butterfly. As you can see, the image is coming through very clearly, and it's really very beautiful. The heat tool takes about, depending on how much ink you have, it would take probably about 20 seconds or so. So here you go. You can see the 2 different butterflies with the 2 different embossing powders. Now I decided to show you one more stamp. So I took this little swirly, put some gold ink on it. This is pigment ink again. Put it on my paper, and I'm going to emboss it with the gold again so that you can just see it. It's really beautiful. I know that you'll just love embossing, and we'll probably do another tutorial here soon on making some cards and using embossing and stamping. It just turned out really beautiful, and I know that you will enjoy using a heat tool to emboss your images and give it a new look to your cards and your scrapbook pages and whatever else you'd like to make. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, come back, subscribe, hit the little bell if you want to. I'm also on Instagram and Pinterest and different social media websites. And I just want to thank you for joining me for stamping and embossing.